It started, as so many modern anxieties do, with a single innocuous ping, a notification lighting up your phone in the dead of night. The kind of moment that makes your heart skip, even if you don't know why yet. A simple alert, but it was the first domino to fall. In July 2025, Americans everywhere began to notice something unsettling. Overnight, their Amazon carts were mysteriously getting more expensive. At first, it was just a few dollars here and there. Maybe you thought you'd misremembered the price or that it was just a fluke. But then social media lit up with frantic posts and screenshots. My cart went up $17 overnight. Anyone else seeing this? Check your save for later list. Prices are jumping, became the new warning echoing across group chats and forums. This wasn't just a glitch or a one-off sale. It was everywhere all at once, and it was impossible to ignore. Suddenly, the world of online shopping felt less like a convenience and more like a volatile stock market. Except now it was blenders and socks whose prices were spiking and crashing. That air fryer you'd been eyeing for weeks? The price had jumped overnight, just out of reach. Those headphones you'd saved for a moment of peace and quiet? Now they were anything but peaceful for your wallet. It felt personal, like the internet itself was targeting you. But the truth was much bigger. A decision made in Washington, D.C. was about to squeeze everyone's budget, no matter where you lived or what you shopped for. The great cart recalculation of 2025 had begun. The once simple act of one-click shopping was now shadowed by a new anxiety. What would that click cost you this time? Overnight, the digital price tags we trusted were shifting beneath our feet, and as the world watched, no one knew where, or when, it would end. So what exactly caused this sudden painful attack on our wallets? In a word, tariffs. But let's break down what that really means, and why it hits so hard, so fast. In late June 2025, the US government imposed hefty tariffs on a massive range of products imported from China: electronics, furniture, clothing, toys, and so much more. Practically every aisle in your favorite store was affected. Suddenly, the cost of goods that Americans buy every day shot up almost overnight. The official goal? To protect American industries from foreign competition and to put pressure on China during tense trade negotiations. Lawmakers hoped these tariffs would boost US manufacturing and create jobs at home. But the immediate result was a massive cost increase for American companies that rely on imported goods and materials. Businesses big and small suddenly faced higher bills for the products they sell. Retail giants like Amazon and Walmart didn't just absorb these extra costs, they passed them straight to you, the consumer. Every time you checked out, you were paying the price for these new policies. That's why your cart total jumped. Sometimes shockingly so, even if you were buying the same things as last month. This wasn't a glitch, a supply chain hiccup, or just random inflation. It was a direct result of government policy, one that hit home for millions of Americans. The price hike acted like a hidden tax, quietly baked right into the price of every product you bought, whether you noticed it or not. While politicians and experts debated the pros and cons of tariffs on TV, regular people at home were left wondering why their paychecks suddenly didn't stretch as far, and why their budgets were under so much pressure. Practically overnight, the cost of everyday goods, from groceries to gadgets, shot up, and shoppers everywhere felt the squeeze in their wallets. The internet, once a place where prices seemed to always drop, had suddenly become a minefield of markups and sticker shock. The tariffs made global headlines, but the real impact wasn't just in the news, it was right there in your shopping cart, every time you tried to check out. Macro policy had landed squarely in your living room, turning everyday shopping into a new kind of financial challenge for families across the country. Let's break it down, because understanding how your wallet gets lighter is the first step to making sense of those rising prices you see every time you shop. A tariff is basically a tax on imported goods. Think of it as a fee the government charges when products cross the border. Imagine you're a retailer trying to stock your shelves. You buy a coffee maker from China for $20, and you plan to sell it for $40. That's a fair markup, enough to cover your costs and make a profit. Everyone's happy, you, your customer, and the supplier. But now, let's say the government slaps on a 25% tariff. Suddenly that same coffee maker costs you $25 instead of $20. That extra $5 doesn't just disappear, it has to come from somewhere. You can't just eat the loss, especially if you're a small business. So you raise the price to $45 to keep your business afloat. Now, your customers are paying more for the exact same product. And it's not just coffee makers. This happened to thousands of products at once: sneakers, lamps, luggage, toothbrushes, electronics, and more. Everyday essentials and little luxuries alike. The tariffs acted like a universal price hike for nearly every major retailer, big or small. It didn't matter where you shopped, prices were climbing everywhere. The invisible tax was hidden in the shelf price. There's no special line item, no warning, just a higher number staring back at you when you check the tag. Shoppers often blamed retailers for the price hikes, thinking stores were just being greedy. But in reality, they were just the last link in a long chain of consequences set off by policy decisions. The most frustrating part? There's no transparency. Unlike sales tax, which is clearly listed on your receipt, tariffs are invisible. You never see them spelled out, so it's hard to know what's really driving up the cost. The price just goes up, and you're left wondering who to blame. Is it the store, the brand, or something else entirely? The result? Confusion, frustration, and a growing sense that the system is rigged against everyday people just trying to get by. Tariffs may sound boring or distant, but they hit you right where it hurts, your wallet. Every trip to the store becomes a little more painful, so the next time you see a price jump, remember, it's not always corporate greed or a random price hike. Sometimes it's government policy quietly working in the background, and in the end you're the one paying for it, whether you realize it or not. If tariffs were the gasoline, dynamic pricing algorithms were the match. In the past, price changes were slow. Now, algorithms update prices millions of times a day. When tariffs hit, these systems instantly recalculated prices to protect profit margins. That's why your cart total changed overnight, even for items you'd already saved. The price you see is just a snapshot. The algorithm is always watching, always adjusting. Shoppers tried to beat the algorithm, but the system was too fast. The result? Volatile prices, shopping anxiety, and a new game of digital cat and mouse. The convenience of online shopping now came with a side of sticker shock. This wasn't just an American problem. In a global economy, trade wars ripple everywhere. Amazon's international sites saw similar price hikes as global supply chains tangled with US-China tariffs. China retaliated, targeting American exports, especially farm products like soybeans and corn. American farmers lost their biggest customer overnight, as China turned to Brazil and Argentina. The impact was swift. Rural incomes plummeted, and farmers were caught in a trade war they never started. Urban shoppers paid more for imports. Rural communities earned less for their crops. The tariffs created winners and losers, but it felt like everyone was losing something. One policy change had spread economic pain from city shopping carts to country fields. For retailers, the tariffs were a logistical nightmare. Their business models relied on cheap, efficient supply chains, mostly from China. The new tariffs forced a frantic search for new suppliers in places like Vietnam or Mexico, but switching isn't easy or fast. Most retailers were stuck, forced to pay tariffs and pass costs to consumers. Smaller businesses faced existential threats: raise prices and lose customers, or absorb costs and risk going under. Shoppers noticed more out-of-stock items, unfamiliar brands, and inconsistent quality. The seamless shopping experience cracked, revealing the fragile global network behind every purchase. The retail world was scrambling and consumers felt the chaos. As the dust settled, economists warned this wasn't a blip, but the start of a new, pricier normal. Trade wars have no real winners, just higher prices, less spending, and slower economic growth. The dream of ever-cheaper goods was fading. Higher prices mean less disposable income, slower sales, and potential job cuts. Uncertainty makes businesses hesitant to invest or hire, chilling innovation and growth. The tariffs, meant to help, risked dragging down the whole economy. The era of carefree, one-click shopping was over. Every purchase now came with an invisible tax. Unless trade policy stabilizes, expect more volatility, disrupted supply chains, and economic anxiety. Welcome to shopping in 2025, complicated, unpredictable, and more expensive than ever.